Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB game scheduled for Wednesday, May 29th, 2024. Now if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Wednesday, Major League Baseball. First up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Frankie Montas for Cincinnati, no official starter for St. Louis. You know, I don't really love what I'm seeing from Frankie Montas recently, especially because the strikeout numbers have really dipped. He's only had 3 or fewer strikeouts in his last 3 starts, and all those games were losses for Cincinnati. That last one against the Padres, 6 innings, 9 base hits, and 4 earned runs. I got to go with the St. Louis Cardinals on this one. They've really improved their lineup against right-handed pitching in the month of May. I still really trust this Cardinals bullpen, so give me St. Louis and a lean. We'll see who the official starter is for the Cardinals, but right now I like the Cardinals on the money line. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Texas Rangers. Ryan Nelson and Andrew Heaney are the listed starters, but there is no official lineup for this game, so we could see a pitching change. You know, Ryan Nelson was in really poor form going into that last game against the Dodgers, where, you know, before that Dodgers started, he gave up 8 earned runs and 11 base hits to the Detroit Tigers, but he pitched really well against Los Angeles, 5 innings of shutout baseball, 5 strikeouts. Now, he did have 5 base hits and 3 walks given up, and you know he kind of labored through those 5 innings, but still, shutout innings against the Dodgers is impressive nonetheless, and it was still a 6-0 Diamondbacks win. I don't think he's going to be perfect in this game. I think the Rangers will have their opportunities, but the Diamondbacks have hit lefties well if Heaney is in fact the starting pitcher. I haven't liked what I've seen from him recently, and the Rangers have lost a majority of his starts, a large majority of his game. He's been one of the least profitable pitchers in baseball, so I'm going to go with the Arizona Diamondbacks in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the San Francisco Giants. We're going to see Christopher Sanchez and Kyle Harrison, a pair of lefties on the mound in this one. You know, Kyle Harrison's been getting up some sharp contact recently. We saw that 2 home runs given up in that last game, and he's only been able to go 5 innings in 4 of his last 5 starts, so not really pitching deep into ball games, but he's still, I mean, the Giants have not lost a Kyle Harrison start since April 9th. They're 8-0 in his last 8 games. He's been a profitable starting pitcher. In the month of May, he still has a sub-4 ERA, so you know, on the other side, Christopher Sanchez, while I think both of these guys are good starting pitching options, but Christopher Sanchez has given up 7 or more hits in 4 of his last 5 games. The Giants are number 5 and number 7 in isolated power and team OPS against lefties in the month of May. And, you know, at this kind of price, it's tough to go against San Francisco in this one. I'm going to go with the San Francisco Giants on the money line. I think they get to Sanchez early. I think the Phillies can get to Harrison for a few runs, but I think in the end, San Francisco, I mean, this offense is red hot. I think they win this game. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the New York Mets. We're going to see James Paxton for Los Angeles, David Peterson making his season debut for the Mets. You know, David Peterson's somebody that we haven't backed too often on the rundown in the last few years because he has just struggled notably at the major league level. He's somebody that pitches pretty well in the minor leagues, gets the call back up to the majors, and just can't find that consistency. He's got great strikeout stuff, but the control has really hurt him. In his major league career, he's got a 4.1 walks per 9. Even in the minor leagues, he's had some steep walk numbers, and he also misses inside the zone, giving up sharp contact, and that's the reason why he's had pretty steep ERAs the last few years at the major league level. However, he had surgery this past year. He had a torn labrum in his hip, and he mentioned after surgery, you know, he felt like a new pitcher, like a new guy. I think that was the quote from Peterson as he, and you know, it looks like that in the minor leagues. When you look at the sample size, 23 2/3 innings. He pitched in AAA, AA, and Single A, so he's been, you know, pitched all over. 23 2/3, 35 strikeouts, at 13.3 Ks per 9. And the most promising sign was no home runs given up and only a few walks, 3 walks given up, a 1.1 walks per 9. That's exactly what you want to see from Peterson going into, you know, his season debut. Now, it's not going to be an easy matchup here. The Dodgers are a very good lineup, as we know, but I still think Peterson, I think we actually catch him at a really good price in this spot, and we know my thoughts on James Paxton, the regression concerns. We got him in that last one against the Cincinnati Reds. We took the first 5 over for the Cincinnati Reds team total 2.5 as a premium play. They scored 9 runs in the first 5 innings. Paxton didn't give up all of those, but I do expect a lot of regression, you know, going forward, and I do expect his ERA to keep going. Right now it's sub 4, but I think it'll be above 4 by the end of the year if he continues to pitch. So I'm going to go with the New York Mets here at a really good price on the money line at Citi Field. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the San Diego Padres. Braxton Garrett and Yu Darvish are your starters. you Darvish, Mitch mentioned the other day that when he was pitching against the Yankees, it looked like he was tipping his pitches. And when you look at the final line, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, 7 earned runs and 4 home runs from a guy that was throwing, 4 consecutive shutouts. It makes kind of no sense in that one. Now, the Yankees are a very good lineup, but giving up 4 home runs, it's not easy to do. It's for a starting pitcher like Darvish, who only gave up 2 home runs going into that game. But I think Darvish bounces back. He has a much better matchup here against the Marlins, and he's pitched well overall, obviously, this year. He was pitching, outstanding going into that game. He still got a 3.04 ERA, decent strikeout numbers. I think he pitches well, but Braxton Garrett, while the ERA looks scary on paper, 5.3, we saw him throw a complete game shutout in that last game against the Diamondbacks. 9 innings, of course, no earned runs, 6 strikeouts, no walks. You're facing a Padres lineup that's not hit lefties too well in the month of May. I'm going to go with the under here in Miami, San Diego. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Cutter Crawford and Corbin Burnes are your starters. Cutter Crawford's pitched well overall this season with a sub-3 ERA, but not the best in the month of May. And I know his struggles have mostly in May been at Fenway Park, where we know it's a very hitter-friendly ballpark, and Crawford's got much better numbers on the road. But still, the Red Sox are 0-4 his last 4 games, and they lost all 4 of those games by more than 1 run. The last 2 were, 7-2 blowout losses. So when you're facing Corbin Burnes and you're facing the Baltimore Orioles, the margin of error is very, very slim. So if Crawford does have a little bit of problems in this one, it could be enough for the Orioles to run away with this game like we saw in the first one of the series. So I'm going to go with the Orioles and lay the 1.5 runs. I expect a lower scoring game, but I'll take the Orioles on the run line. Next up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Shota Imanaga and Bryce Wilson are your starters. I think it was a good idea for the Cubs to skip Imanaga's start in that last time around the in the rotation, because he is still a rookie in the major leagues while he's 30 years old. This is his first year at the major league level in terms of the workload. So, he's pitching really well this year, but you don't want to stretch him too much. And he's still 5-0 with a .84 ERA, and now he has an extra, few days of rest. I think he's going to pitch pretty well in this game. And the Brewers are a tough lineup, but I'd rather, against lefties, they're right around league average in OPS and ISO. So I think it's actually a decent spot here for Imanaga. And, Bryce Wilson's pitched well, but he does have a lot of regression concerns. When you look at the expected numbers, xFIP, expected ERA, FIP, they're all in the 4s. So I think the Cubs, if there was a spot in this series where they'd have, breakout offensive game, this would be the one, at least early on. I'm going to go with the Cubs in the first 5 innings on the money line. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Minnesota Twins. We're going to see Seth Lugo and Bailey Ober as your starters. The Royals absolutely crushed Bailey Ober at the beginning of the season. In Ober's season debut, he gave up an inning and a third, 9 base hits, and 8 earned runs with 3 home runs to go with it in an 11-0 Royals win. And while Ober's been a completely different pitcher since that game, a lot better, he still has an ERA above 4.4 in the month of May. He hasn't been the sharpest this month, and I think the Royals can still get to him for a few runs and probably a home run or 2. He's given up at least 1 home run in 4 of his last 5 starts. Seth Lugo, it's tough to go against him until we see any signs of regression. He has just been excellent for Kansas City, winning a lot of games. He's 8-1 overall, sub-2 ERAs, pitched well. His strikeout numbers have been inconsistent. We've seen some games. Last start against the Rays, he only had 3 strikeouts. Before that, he had 10 and 12. So he's kind of all over the place there. But I think the Royals at least have the lead through the first 5 innings. I'm going to go KC on the money line in the first 5. Next up, it's the Washington Nationals taking on the Atlanta Braves. Mackenzie Gore going for Washington, no official starter for Atlanta. I think Mackenzie Gore keeps the Nationals in this game. We'll see who the official starter is for Atlanta, but Gore has pitched well this year, even better on the road with a 2.42 ERA. His last 5 starts, 2 earned runs or fewer in all 5 of those games. Good strikeout numbers to go with it. You always are a little bit worried about the home run ball. He does give up some sharp contact, but I think Gore is going to end up being the better option as starting pitcher in this matchup. And the Nationals, we've mentioned it all season, they've been one of the most profitable teams in baseball. They took the first game of this series. I like their chances to at least keep this one close. I'm going to take Washington plus the 1.5 runs and on the money line in this one. Next up, the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Chicago White Sox. Alek Manoah and Chris Flexen are your starters. Right when we think Manoah is right back in form where we saw him in his rookie season, he struggles in that last game against the Tigers, gives up 4 earned runs and 6 total runs in 4 2/3 innings. But I still think Manoah is the better option in this game. I think the Blue Jays are the better side. So I am going to take the Blue Jays and lay the 1.5 runs. Chris Flexen, he was pitching really well for Chicago, but not any longer. He's got a 5.69 ERA. And in the month of May, he has struggled, especially, most recently. And now that ERA above 6 in the month of May. So I think the Blue Jays can get to him for a few runs. I think Manoah will be better, even though so far his struggles have been on the road, which is a little bit concerning. I still think he'll be a decent option in this game. So give me the Blue Jays laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Colorado Rockies. We're going to see Ty Blach and Logan Allen. So another game with two lefties on the mound. In this one, Ty Blach, his last game against the Phillies, going up against one of the hottest lineups in baseball at Coors Field, didn't look to be too good of a spot, but Blach was excellent. 6 2/3 innings, 2 runs. I know it was 2 home runs, but I mean, he has been actually a lot better at Coors Field than he's been on the road. Similar to a guy like Ryan Feltner, but so far, 7 innings on the road. He's got given a 7.71 ERA at Coors, 20 2/3, a 3.48 ERA. He keeps the Rockies in ball games, and while the Guardians are hitting lefties very well in the month of May, I think Blach is going to be the better option in this start. Logan Allen's pitched well recently after struggling quite a bit, but this is going to be his first career start at Coors Field. We see him give up some home runs, a lot of home runs this year, 11 of them so far in 57 innings of work. That's not what you want to see at Coors, including 2 of them that last game against the Angels, 7 base hits to go with it. He's given up 6 or more hits in 4 of his last 5 starts, so a lot of base runners. I'm going to go with the Rockies at a great price on the money line at Coors. Next up, we see the New York Yankees taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Luis Gil and Tyler Anderson are your starters. Luis Gil's been on an absolute tear recently, and if he's not careful, he's going to go on and win this American League Cy Young Award. In the month of May, he's got 30 2/3 innings, 35 strikeouts, and a .59 ERA. He's given up 1 earned run or fewer in all 5 of his last 5 games. All 5 were victories for the Yankees and covers of the run line. 2-0, 10-3, 10-6, 6-1, and 5-0. A lot of blowouts in those games, and I expect another one here against Anderson, who I have big-time regression concerns in his game. He's given up a lot of sharp contact without missing a lot of bats and without keeping the ball on the ground. That's just a recipe for disaster. His ground ball rates, was one of the worst in baseball. His strikeout rate's one of the worst in baseball, so he can't get this fortunate for too much longer. I know he's pitching deep into ball games. He's been efficient on the mound, but I think the Yankees, while they at the beginning of the season weren't great against lefties, they're top 10 in OPS and ISO against lefties in the month of May. I think Anderson's in big trouble in this game. I think the Yankees win this one in a blowout. I'll take the Yankees laying the 1.5 and 2.5 runs in this one. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners hosting the Houston Astros. Justin Verlander and George Kirby are your starters. George Kirby has struggled mostly on the road this year, so one would think it's a good spot for him to bounce back in this game because he finally returns to T-Mobile Park, where he's got a sub-3 ERA. His last game at T-Mobile was against the Royals. It was 7 innings, a shutout ball. But still, it's tough to ignore that Kirby in his last 2 starts giving up 15 base hits, 4 home runs, and 10 earned runs, and only 6 strikeouts to go with it in the 12 innings combined. And the Houston Astros are a very tough lineup against right-handed pitching. In the month of May, they're number 3 in team OPS. They're number 7 in isolated power. They have a low strikeout rate to go with it. So I think Kirby will be a little bit better than we've seen recently, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for a Mariners win. Justin Verlander's pitching really well on the other side. His last game, 6 innings, 1 earned run, 9 strikeouts against the Athletics. I'm going to lean towards the Astros in this game on the money line. I think we're getting a pretty good price here. And while I do expect Kirby to bounce back at some point, I just don't love his current form. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.